Hey, what's going on? This is the Handsome Duckling, and today we have a um another tier list. This is Office characters, and yep, let's hop right into it. First off, the iconic Michael Scott. I don't even think this one needs to be discussed. He's an S tier character, probably the best character in the entire show. He's hilarious. He's wholesome at sometimes. He has everything that you would want in a character. He's one of the few main characters where he's just very, very well written, very funny and likable, but not so likable that it's just that he has no personality. Um, Next up, Oscar. Oscar kind of annoys me. He's a bit of a know-it-all. Um, Especially when you get in like the later seasons, he's just a bit of a know-it-all, and he is really like uptight, and that is his character. I think without him, the show wouldn't be like where it is. Like, he's a very important character, but he annoys me so much. Next up, David Wallace. I'm gonna put him in C tier. Not because he's annoying, not because I don't like him. I just don't think that he really adds much to the show. I mean, of course, he was the original boss of Dunder Mifflin, but not really. You know, um, he doesn't really do much when he's in the show. He doesn't really add much. When he comes in the eighth and ninth season, he is he's not a terrible character. I really like him as a character. I just don't think he adds enough to the show to be any higher tier than C tier. Ooh, this is gonna be our first D. He, Gabe he's another one of those characters that annoys me. It's kind of his character arc is to be how he is to be weird, kind of, and awkward. And he doesn't really get a lot of things, kind of like a robot. But he just isn't. I think a lot of characters that are like that are made to be funny, but he's not funny. Jim. Ooh. This is another shoe-in for S tier. However, once you get into the later seasons with him and Pam, he is a little more annoying. I mean, the same deal with Pam. I am going to put him in S tier just because up until about season 6, he's like the perfect character. He's so funny, and he's him and Pam are like, at that point, up until when they have kids, they're a good couple, but after that they just get a little cringy. I think he gets cringy after like season 7, but he overall is one of the funniest characters, and him and Dwight's beef, prank, whatever, it's hilarious. Kevin, S tier, easy. He is so funny, and he adds so much to the show. Yeah, the show would not be where it is without Kevin, and he is the butt of a lot of jokes, but he also is just so funny. Like, the thing is, Michael and Jim both just add so much to the show. Kevin adds a lot to the show because he's one of the OG members, but at the same time, like, does he really? That's kind of the point of Kevin, is he doesn't do much. So I think he's an incredibly well-written character. Definitely S tier character. I'm blanking on her name. I think that it's like Joe or something like that. I'm gonna put her in D tier just because she doesn't really add much to the show. She is the mom from Bobby Boucher, which I always just like thought was really funny. Yeah. So, yeah, not much to say about her. She was barely in it. I mean, there were a couple episodes where she was just like there, like a lot, but not really. Oh, also this is on tiermaker.com, made by this guy, if you want to do this for yourself. Next, Phyllis. Early season Phyllis is hilarious and would definitely be a B or A tier character. But later season, she does get a little annoying. I'm gonna put her at C. She is really funny, but her character is pretty. sometimes her character can be annoying. I'm just gonna go ahead and put Bob Vance in D because her and Bob Vance together, that's where they become like. That's where she becomes like a bad character, because Bob Vance is such a bad character, it kind of drags her down, even though he's not in it a lot. Okay, I'm gonna put her hot take B tier. She is really funny and she brings in a lot. I say she because I forgot her name. Yeah, but she's really funny. She was originally gonna be the manager. Then she lost that role to Robert California, who's this guy. Which, then she like comes back in some weird way that's like kind of hard to describe. And then she ends up working in the office. She doesn't really do much. I don't remember that she has like a name of a job. It's like special affairs or something like that. That's her job name or something. She doesn't really do anything. She's just kind of a funny character, and I'm gonna put her in B tier for that because she doesn't really bring anything down. She's just really funny. Okay, this fella. Forgot his name too because he's not in it for that long, but he was alright. I thought he was really funny for like 5 minutes, and then once he started having the beef with Jim and being like really uptight, that's what brought him down. I'll put him at C tier. He doesn't really affect the show enough to go down or up, I'd say. Okay, Clark. C tier. Again, he's not in it enough to affect it. When he is in it, he's alright. He's not incredibly funny. He's not a bad character though. I think he does do a little more annoying stuff. Pete, on the other hand, I'm gonna put him and Pete together. Pete's definitely a better character than him. Pete is hilarious. They say that he's the Dwight Jr., he's the Jim Jr. I can definitely see him as the Jim Jr. Definitely not the Dwight Jr. though. Mose. I'll put Mose in A tier. Doesn't really do anything bad. He's just really, really funny. He is the Dwight Jr. in the show, and he's hilarious. He adds so much to he doesn't add much to the show, but whenever he is like in the show, it's so funny, and he's just he's like the punchline in so many jokes they'll make. So that's really cool. Hank. I'll put Hank in B tier. Doesn't really do anything bad. Not in it that much, but whenever he is in it, he's really funny. Yeah. Oh. I don't know. Oh. Todd Packer. Where do I put this guy? He's definitely not on par with these three. He definitely is on the same tier as Mose, 100%. Yeah, A tier. He's so funny. Again, not in the show a lot, but he always affects the show. Like, he'll always just randomly be brought up into a conversation. He's hilarious. He might be one of the funniest in the show. Stanley. In my opinion, the best in the accounting team. Easy A tier. Really funny. Whenever he does add something to the show, I say it's always positive, and he's really funny. Yeah. Holly. I think Holly's an A tier character. Again, she adds so much to the show, and even though she takes Michael away from the office, she's still really funny, and that still doesn't bring the show down. Yeah, but when Michael leaves, that does spark the downfall of the show. But I don't put that on Holly. Him and Holly, I think that was the plot for Michael, was to find somebody working at the office who he'd spend the rest of his life with, and that's really cool that it was Holly. And they were just so funny because they were like, the point of them together was that they were made for each other, and I think that was funny. Yeah, she's a very well written character. Pam. I'll put her A tier. I mean, her and Jim. The will they, won't they? Like, the will they, won't they? And she's not as funny as Jim. Not on the tier with these guys, but she adds so much to the show that you can't put her any lower. Her and Jim in the later seasons are really what kind of like holds it together. Oh, easy S tier for Daryl. He's so unproblematic and he's hilarious. Yeah, he is 100% one of the funniest guys in the office. and he adds so much, not only to The Office, but like to the show and all the side plots. When him and Jim go and work in Philadelphia together, that also kind of holds together the last season. Roy. See, he would be D or C. I'll put him in B just because the episode where they go to his wedding is hilarious. Whenever he says he makes boxing, he took boxing lessons, and instead he took piano lessons and wrote a song for his wife. That's hilarious. He was pretty well written, and he was like so important in the first couple of seasons. I also think that they like took him out of the show well, if that makes sense. So, great job. Dwight, easy S tier. One of the funniest in the show. What's cool about him is pretty much every character in The Office is a dynamic character. Dwight embodies a static character, but in a good way. He stays the exact same and is one of the only constants throughout the show, and that is so, like, that's what's super cool and entertaining. Angela. We're actually gonna make another row below for the worst character in the show. Easily my least favorite. I don't think that I've ever laughed at anything that she's had to say, which is funny because she was in all 9 seasons. But I think that she's just so annoying. Like, easily the worst character. Erin. Okay. I'm debating putting her in S. Actually, I'll put her in S. She is so funny. Like, what she adds to the show, because she'll say something. It's her mannerisms and how she's like always happy, and then she'll say something so depressing about her foster home, and that's always the jokes that hit so hard. She's just so funny because she'll say the most random things that are so depressing and terrible, but she'll smile through it. Robert California, he freaks me out. I'll put him in C. He doesn't really, actually D. He doesn't really add much to the show. He kind of, I wouldn't say he adds much to the show. I'd say that he is a crucial part in the 7th, 8th season. But he's just kind of odd. Okay, I think her name is Karen. Every time I look at her, I just think of what she played in Parks and Recreation. So seeing her in The Office was a bit of a jump scare, because I watched Parks and Recreation for a while before I started watching The Office, and seeing her was such a jump scare because I was like, no way, you know. I believe she's April. I think that's her name. I haven't seen Parks and Rec in a while, but B tier. She's great while she's in the show, but she was a needed like bump in the road for Pam and Jim's relationship. She was not meant to be in the show for a long time, and I think she was very well written as well. Oh, Kelly. D tier for both Kelly and Ryan. They both really are like the same character. Both of them don't want to work, except he's a big sociopath and thinks that he's the best. And she just like kind of feeds off of him. They both feed off of each other and are both really dramatic in the show. So both of them, I think, deserve a D tier. Everything that they add to the show kind of brings it down. Neither of them are that funny. Season 1 and 2 Ryan, when he's the temp, that's funny. But other than that, Meredith, I'll gladly give her a B tier. Normally with a character like that I wouldn't like her, but she's so, if she only for like 1 season was how she was, or maybe even for 5 seasons how she was, she'd be a terrible character. But she's so kind of similar to Dwight. She's such a static character that it is hilarious, because she just stays the exact same every season, and it's hilarious. Same thing with Creed. They both have these like awkward, weird, kind of creepy, funny personalities, and it stays the same throughout the whole show. Creed, I thought was going to be out in the 3rd season when I first started watching it, and he lasted the whole show, you know? Jan, C tier. She's not a terrible character. She's very well written. She was very needed, I'd say, for the show. And then whenever they'd bring her in later seasons, that's where it would be like, well, what are we really doing here? Like, they were kind of like feeding off of it, I feel like. Andy. Ooh. Andy hits a sweet spot within season 6 and season like 8 to where he'd be an A tier. But earlier seasons, Andy, like the first couple seasons he was in, and the last season, Andy would probably be a C or a D. I can put him in B to balance it out. He's hilarious. He really is like so nerdy, but it's in a funny way. He definitely was not a good predecessor for Michael. I don't think that was a good choice to make him the manager. But yeah, shout out to Andy, because he was one of the only reasons I made it through season 6 and 7. Toby. Toby's the most mundane character in the whole show. Never really shows much emotion, and when he does, it's kind of awkward, and I think that's hilarious. Very funny character. Very great. Yeah. Michael hates him, and that was the funniest thing. One of the funniest things whenever Michael was working at the office was Toby. Was their relationship. Okay. I believe his name, I know it's Will Ferrell. It's like D. Adrian or something. Before like the last episode that he was in it, A-tier character. I'm giving it an A-tier. Excuse that one bad episode. He was hilarious, and he brought so much to the office, and it was absolutely hilarious. When he did the Dundies with Michael, that was one of my favorite episodes. Besides Threat Level Midnight, obviously. But 100%, he was one of the funniest characters in the show at the time that he was in it. And he was very entertaining to watch. And I think it's cool that they brought in, I mean, who'd they bring? Will Ferrell, like famous actors that weren't in it for a while, but you know, Will Ferrell. Forgot this lady's name, and I forgot this guy's name. They're actors' names, but they're all like famous actors that are famous for other stuff before doing The Office. Yeah, so that's really cool. And Joe, if that's her name. Yeah. Anyway, that's my list. These characters pretty much always hit. Michael, I'd say, is the best in the whole show, 100%. And then Angela, of course. Every time that she like does stuff, I'm like, golly. These characters are on the chopping block like of the show that I was like, if they weren't in the show, wouldn't really take away. Like Kelly was not needed, and neither was Ryan. They were only needed for each other. If it was only Ryan, wouldn't make sense. If it was only Kelly, wouldn't make sense. That's why they made them leave in the same episode, or at the beginning of the same episode. Some of these characters, if you look at like C and above, are just like the show could go without them, but they're so entertaining that I think it just added more to how great the show is. This is easily my favorite show of all time. And yeah. Anyway, that'll do it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. And as you know, I hope you're doing well. God bless, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.